Our breakfast show. Now this morning we want to have a conversation on youth empowerment because it said about 80% of Kenya's 2.3 million unemployed are young people between the ages of 15 and 34 years of age. Now, as you know, youth unemployment is a very critical issue that both the public and the private sector must work together to address so that you can see more young people getting into employment. And to have that conversation with us this morning, we have Anne-Marie from the International Labour Organization, and then we have Rachel Mudoga from Moving the Goalposts, and Robert Wawero from Uwezo Awareness, as well as Mutegi Njawa. Very good morning to all of you, and thank you for coming. Maybe Mutegi, you can kickstart our conversation this morning.
What has ILO got to do with youth? I thought ILO is supposed to do with trade unions.
We bring together several key players in the labor force. I work particularly with a project called the Youth Entrepreneurship Facility.
Youth Entrepreneurship Facility.
Exactly. Yeah. It's funded by DANITA, and it's implemented across East Africa in Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya. It's been implemented since 2010, and it's really to increase the number of jobs and businesses, especially among youth across this region. I work specifically with one of the components called the Youth to Youth Fund, and it's a really innovative grant scheme that gives funds and technical support to youth-led organizations so they can design and implement projects and design their own solutions to employment challenges.
So do you do training, or you just give money?
So we provide funds and also technical expertise to our youth-led organizations. So we don't fund youth entrepreneurs directly. We work with youth-led organizations that have sort of a package of services to promote youth entrepreneurship in their own communities. These packages can include mentorship, apprenticeship programs, entrepreneurship training, really tangible, solid skills that will help youth in any endeavor that they go into.
How widespread are you in this country? How many?
So we work with 39 youth-led organizations across Kenya, from Busia to Kilifi to Nyanza to Naivasha. And these youth-led organizations, in turn, have been able to reach out to about 2,000 beneficiaries across Kenya. And we're hoping to increase that.
And how do you identify them?
So we go through quite a rigorous selection process. So we do a call for proposals, and youth-led organizations can apply, identifying challenges in their own communities, and then proposing solutions to address them. Then we review their proposals, we build their capacity to develop the idea a bit further. Then we do interviews, we do site visits, until we finally decide who will receive the funds.
Do you follow up on that process, seeing as quite a number of youth-led organizations that could have very solid papers and tell you this is what we do, A, B, C, D, F, G, but then when it comes to producing results, then it becomes a totally different story. So do you have a follow-up mechanism? How do you gauge my project was more successful and needs more funding than...
For sure.
Yeah.
So how we work, in the ILO, in each country that we work in, we work with an implementing partner organization. In Kenya, that's the Ustadi Foundation. They're fantastic. They're a local capacity development organization, and they help manage the fund for us. And they're very hands-on on the ground, working with all of our grantee organizations, ensuring that they're first in the selection process, they are who they say they are, and they have the capacity to implement these projects. Then we also host a design workshop where we go through their proposal. We help them sort of tweak their implementation so that they can get the most return on investment. And then they monitor and support them throughout the implementation process.
Why have you chosen to work with these other parties instead of working with the government?
So we'd love to work with the government. We're actually looking to reach out to counties in particular. We've developed this model that gives youth a voice in this whole process. It allows them to design their own solutions and implement their own projects. So we really feel like it gives youth ownership and will make the project a lot more sustainable.
Okay.
So we've developed this model based on research done in West Africa, and we would love to be able to work with county governments for them to take up this model, especially in their employment strategies.
You say you've done research in West Africa. Do we have the same problems? Do we have the same challenges for you to say that because it has worked in West Africa, we think it's going to work in Kenya?
Well, it's more like an idea laboratory. So the research done in West Africa looked at employment programs and saw that up to 40% of these youth employment programs either weren't effective or were having a negative effect. And so they asked youth themselves what sort of projects or strategies would be most beneficial. And that's how the model was informed.
Okay.
So we've implemented it now for 4 years. And we're doing an impact assessment in January to really look at the hard impacts of it. But in the past 4 years, we've seen huge successes, and there's 2 grantee organizations today that can speak to that.
Okay.
Maybe you tell us the relationship and what benefits you got from the ILO.
So my name is Robert Owero. I'm the CEO of Uwezo Awareness Organization.
Uwezo Awareness
Organization.
Which Uwezo are you talking about?
That's my NGO that I run.
When you talk about Uwezo, you think about Uwezo Fund?
Yes.
Is that Uwezo Awareness for Uwezo Fund?
No, it's completely different. This is an NGO we're talking about, which is called Uwezo Awareness Organization.
And what do you do?
And so we have a youth project where we work with performing arts and e-learning. I'm also an established music producer, so we are able to create that marriage of development, and we're able to get the impact that is needed because we are also in the music industry as stakeholders.
So what does that mean, Uwezo Awareness? And you are doing music. What awareness is that?
Huh?
What awareness?
From the name, you mean?
Your Uwezo Awareness.
Yes.
So what awareness do you create?
Yes, what we do is we take youth from the informal settlements. Right now we're working in Korogocho, and we build their capacity in different ways. For an example, we teach them about songwriting. We help them produce their music. We have mentors that come and explain how you go from an idea to reality, how the music business works, and then we help them commercialize. For an example, we have a great poet who's a beneficiary, called Teardrops. Even people like Sauti Sol has benefited from this model that I created.
Well, Vero, let me ask you, as you are seeking to nurture talent, and especially in the entertainment industry, do you seek to find a way of pushing this talent to the next level? Because we tend to have quite a number of upcoming artists who never then become, if I can put it that way. You know, so do you have a strategy? And if you can, please share with us.
Yeah, I like that question. You see, me as a music producer, I'm approached every day, every single minute there's someone who comes, and they always look at it from a very simple perspective. They say, where is your studio? Can I come and record? But then I tell them, stop, right? It's not that simple. Many times there's this assumption that if I work with so-and-so, I will end up here as a guest and I'll be making a lot of money. But what I try to tell people who want to enter this industry, you have to get your purpose correct. You have to know, I'm entering this industry, what can I contribute with? 2, you have to do proper research. Before you do any type of presentation, you have to be presentable, you see. So that's why I created Uwezo Awareness, you know, is to create that incubation environment where someone can learn, and maybe you find out that no, this thing is very difficult, you know. It's not about fame actually, and I would urge anyone who wants to enter the entertainment industry to get their facts correct and understand that it's better to build a long-time career, right, than to do hits, per se, you know.
But then there's also and maybe I should have addressed this earlier, there's also the mentality that the entertainment industry is not something that we should really pursue, especially for those who come from lower income households, because it has been cultivated in our heads over and over that, you know, for you to be successful, you have to do a white collar job, if I can call it that. Is there a way then is there a criteria, or is there a formula you use so as to enable more children come in, yeah, instead of them being idle, being in the streets? Yeah, is there something you're doing for that?
Yes, again, I look for integrity, you know, and I look for someone who is willing to go the full yard, you know. Let me give you, I can tell you for a fact, there's actually people who would like new talent. If we talk about the private sector, for an example, the opportunities are there. But the problem, again, so many people, most people who are trying to do this, right, they have a very simplistic approach towards it. You know, they don't have their package correct. Even their act they're going to perform is not good enough, you know. Right? So there's those, I hope you get what is it I'm trying to say.
Yes.
So many people are in a rush, and today with all the modern technology, it's also a bit, it's almost too easy to get to the public, let's say, right? So you find that our society is saturated with so much information, so many things that are almost in the way from the quality stuff.
Okay. So what's the relationship with ILO?
I am, so Uwezo Awareness Organization is an implementing partner. So as Anne-Marie explained.
And what does that mean, implementing partner?
We are on the ground in Korogocho, where we are training 30 youths right now. And 2 of them are already successful. We've been doing this for 6 months only. And we're trying to showcase this model again so that we can further scale it up and find synergies on a national scale.
So implementing partner means you get money from them?
Yes.
Or you get technicians, or you get staff?
We get funding, that's
just
correct.
Money?
They support our operations that we're working on.
And what does that support include?
Yeah, it's admin. They support in admin, and in the areas where we need to do music production, we do the trainings, we have mentorship program, and so on.
I don't understand. Is it money they give you, or is it staff, human beings?
They give us money.
They
give us money,
just
and technical support in the areas.
Technical support means what? They give you
like they support with trainers, trainers that have people who have come, and let's say we have a workshop about how to become an entrepreneur. Then ILO will come with one of their trainers. We'll have our trainers, and then we discuss and we empower the youth when it comes to that area.
Yes.
So we work with grantee organizations. As I said before, we don't fund youth entrepreneurs directly. To reach a greater scale, we work with organizations who are established in the community who can roll out these projects. And so we provide them with funding, and we also provide them with technical support. We provide a workshop on project design and implementation. We also visit their offices and provide monitoring and technical support. For some, that means developing their financial procedures a bit better, or advising on their business plan, and making sure they're able to implement their projects.
Okay. Ms. Rachel Mudaga, good morning.
Good morning.
Let us know what moving goalposts is all about.
So yes, my name is Rachel Muthaga. I'm the Executive Director at Moving the Goalposts. We are an organization that's based in Kilifi, and for us, we're a sports for development organization. So we provide football opportunities for girls in Kilifi and now Kwale County. We recently expanded to Kwale. And so we work through girls from the age of 9 to 25. And through our football program, we're also able to provide a leadership curriculum that basically works with them to give them direction and purpose in life, and to be able to look at what is their future, what type of future do they want to have. So we also run other programs. You know, the challenges that girls face in Kilifi mainly are early pregnancy, school dropout. And so we're trying to see how can we be able to bridge that gap and to ensure that they're able to have a better future. And so our work has included giving them information on sexual and reproductive health, and also working on just ensuring that they have education support and working through to assist them in various ways. So we also do an economic empowerment program. And what that entails is looking at, sitting with the girls and looking at what do they want for their future, taking them through a goal setting process, and then also looking at how can we assist them. So we do have some funds to provide some scholarship support, but we can't support everyone. So we're also looking at how can we be able to support them to, if they want to go back to, if they've dropped out of school, can they go back to school? If they want vocational training, where can they receive it? And so our relationship with the Youth to Youth Fund is that they came on board when we were already implementing this program. And when we saw the grant proposal, we had a gap that we had recognized, because we realized, we work in a very rural area. Many of our girls maybe did not even finish school. And so we realized that we were taking them through this vocational training, but then they would go out, maybe someone has studied tailoring or has studied hairdressing. They come out and they start a business, but they weren't quite breaking through. We weren't seeing many of them having thriving businesses. So we realized that maybe there's a gap. We're introducing a new notion to them. We're empowering them. We're saying, go out. Now you have the skills. You can do this. Go out and start a business. But then we were seeing that they weren't being able to manage them as well. There's a world of difference between sitting in a class being told you should have proper financial management, and this is how you do it. This is how you keep books of account, versus someone who has actually seen it being done live. And so we realized, and so the support that we got from the Youth to Youth Fund is to implement an apprenticeship program. As you know, in many professions, if you have a legal background, medical background, before you go off into proper practice, you always go through a process of internship. And so we realized that that might be the way to bridge that gap, to enable these girls to get hands-on business skills. And so we've, through the Y2Y Fund, we've been able to place them in businesses, small businesses, because we want them to be able to replicate this back when they go back home. So we've placed them in small businesses, and really they're learning the soft skills of business.
Can you
Customer.
explain that?
Yes, they're learning about...
It's like you have a youth, a young person. You bring him or her to my business.
Yes.
I mentor her. You have a relationship between local Kilifi business people and your group.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
So what we did is we actually, once we got the fund, we actually went out and told local business people, tailors, salons, mechanics, because we have some girl who has gone through the mechanic, and we said, can you be able to support us in this way? We're going to place this girl with you. We actually signed a memorandum of understanding with each of these businesses. We will place this girl with you, and this is what we expect you to do, to train her, to be able to support her, to understand the skills of business. And and the businesses also embraced it, and they saw it as an asset, because this is someone who will come, who will sit with them and assist them. And we actually are quite grateful with the positive reception that we got from many of the businesses in Kilifi. And so those girls are in that process right now. And what we've seen is that it builds confidence with customer care when they're able to deal with customers who, under the guidance of someone who has run a business for a long time. It builds, they know how to follow up debts. They know how to be able to juggle when you have too many clients who are all demanding for services at the same time. All those soft skills that make a difference between a successful business and a business that closes down in 6 months. And so for us, we've seen a big impact already on just the confidence that the girls have in being able to understand, this is how I ought to have been doing my business. Those who had already started businesses and weren't thriving are able to tell us, okay, this is what I was doing wrong. I had the skills, but then now I understand beyond theory. And now I'm able to go to the next level.
You seem to know exactly what you're saying and what you've done. What's your background?
My background is law. Yes, I have a women's rights background. I studied the law, and I also have a master's in international women's rights. And so for me, I see this as a women's empowerment program. And for us, we are a girls' rights organization.
Yes.
And so our focus really is on getting women to be able to get onto the job market, to get onto the business market, and to do what they need to do to thrive.
You've done this for how many years?
So the organization has been in existence for 12 years. 12 years. And we were started in Kilifi, and we've just grown in the Kilifi community, and then now we've moved on to Kwale.
Can you give us examples of the people you've gone through your system and who they are now?
Well, we've had a number of girls go through. And
some of them must be women.
Yeah, they are women, because yes, then some of
12 years is a long time.
Yes, it's a long time. And what they are right now is we have girls who have made it into the NYS program with our support, girls who have been able to, women who have been able to open local businesses, women who have gone to college and have come out, women who are, as I said, we're a professional, our basis is football. Women who have gone on to play professional football, including one who is playing for the Harambee Stars, the women's team. And so for us, we see these are now the people who can now come back and give back to the girls who are in the program right now.
Why did you choose football? Because women and football is not very,
So, well...
it's not well, not many women went to
yeah, I would
football.
never play football.
Why not maybe
Basketball.
music like or music or
volleyball.
or something else? Why football?
Why football? I get that question a lot. Because football is, because of that, the contrariness. The fact that to you, there's a question mark. And what that does, and for us, especially being in a very rural setting in Kilifi, you can imagine 12 years ago in Kilifi, most Kenyans, would not even begin to imagine that people can play football. So for us, it was looking at what does it mean when you want to look at the role of women in society? How can you be able to challenge some of the perceptions that society have of women? So you can have programs and tell people over and over, yes, men and women are equal, you can do that. But then on the other hand, it's much more practical. And for us, we saw football is something that, Kenyans love football. And it's something that's well appreciated, but it's
But in Kenya, football is not the thing for women.
And football is
Why
football
not
is for men, and that means that football is elevated in a special position. And for us, we wanted to put women in that position. And
To elevate them.
So when you see
them, yeah.
girls, a team of 12-year-olds playing football, and the fathers of these girls are sitting in the sidelines, and they have the traditional notion of what their girls ought to be doing. But then they're seeing their girls playing in a traditionally male sport. It's not a male sport, it's just that has been the practice. Yeah. And they're seeing their girls thriving, they're seeing their girls running, being aggressive, scoring goals. It totally changes their outlook. And it totally changes, hopefully, the investment that they're willing to make in the lives of their daughters. So it's not always going to be about us as an organization trying to support this girl. We're creating an environment where society is enabled, and also we change the perceptions of parents, of family members, who are then able to say, okay, maybe we need to invest in the education of this girl. Maybe it's important for us, and maybe we should not actually push her to get married early. What we should do is support her to achieve her goals and to support her in life. Yeah.
Rachel, you said you cater for girls between the ages of 9 to 25,
Yes.
right? And most of them are been forced into early marriages or, early pregnancies, and could be school dropouts. Do you see need then to partner with the local schools in the area so as to promote this idea? Because you can take the girl, do you take the girl out and then tell her, okay, we're going to rehabilitate you and we're going to teach you how to do ABCDFG without a formal education background?
And for us, it's also looking at education, it's looking at health, because there are so many factors that determine how this girl can go ahead. And so for us, we actually do work closely with the schools, we work closely with the Ministry of Education, we also work closely with the Ministry of Health, because it doesn't serve much to take this girl and tell her you have the following rights, you have a right to do X, Y, and Z. And then she goes back into a community that does not reinforce that, does not believe that, and that will then give her backlash on that. So we try to also work with the environment to say teachers, to get the teachers to support us, to get the Ministry of Health to support us and give them access to the services that they need, and also to ensure that the community generally supports them and is able to reinforce the things that we are saying as an organization.
So what's your direct relationship with ILO?
So our direct relationship with ILO is through the Y2Y Fund. We are one of those who made an application when they sent out a call for proposals. And so for us, it has been, we already had an economic empowerment program, but they have enabled us through their funding to be able to build on it and to now see this. And for us, this was a pilot program. And so from next year, we'll see how can we be able to roll out and get as many of the girls who come through our vocational training programs then into apprenticeships so that they can have a better option, a better chance at having success with
So they give you money and technical assistance?
They give us money, they give us training, they give us technical support, and really their support also is organizational. It's looking at our proposal and saying, okay, maybe we think you have aimed too high here, or maybe you should cost this way. And so that also helps because, we are a community-based organization. We appreciate having that technical support in order to ensure that the way we draft our programs is actually directed in a way that we will see the results at the end. So we've received that support.
To Robert and Rachel, then how do you measure the success of the students that you have taken in? How do you measure? And then at what point do you let them go if you do? If you do, at what point do you let them go?
And okay, for us, so first, as I said, they have to, all the girls, including the beneficiaries of the Y2Y program, have to be in the football program. That's how, you know, your membership and participation at Moving the Goalposts is based on your participation on football. So we have a cutoff point, which is 25 years. And so, as you'll notice, we work with 9 to 25, but it means that most of the girls in our economic empowerment program are in the upper bracket, 20 onwards. And so those are the girls, and so for us, those girls, one, in terms of looking at the cutoff point or letting go, it's usually based on the age, but also it also incorporates a winding up process where we take them through a preparation for the fact that they're going to move on and be past Moving the Goalposts. But in terms of looking at how successful or grading how well they're doing, we have constant monitoring and evaluation. And for us, that's actually how we realized that there was a gap, because we'd been doing these trainings. But then when we looked at the success rate of the businesses, then we realized, okay, maybe there's something, some more successful, others not so much. And we said, how can we make sure that we have a higher success rate? And so that's why we started to implement this Y2Y fund. But we try and monitor them as much as we can. They're in the community. We also try and call upon them to participate as much as they can in empowering the group that's behind them. So you'll be able to continue to have interaction with this person, and you're able to see how successfully are they doing what we've trained them to do.
Yeah, in my case, with the youth and in relation to performing arts, is that we help them come up with either the package that they will need to present themselves, and we give them the training, and then we use our networks now to create that opportunity for showcasing employment and so on. And as I said in the beginning, a good showcase example is Teardrops, the poet, who is a beneficiary and in a part of the ongoing program. He sold out Alliance Francaise a month ago. Him and another poet. Remember, this is a new field. So there we have helped in creating the package for him, and he's gone through the training. So that's really impact. And as we were talking in the beginning, is that first you prepare the youth, and when they're prepared and they have the material to interact and to go for the market, then things happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what kind of expertise do you have? Because you give expertise all over.
There's music.
There's
football.
It's true. So the Youth to Youth Fund recognizes that every community is quite different and faces different challenges and has different needs. And so we work with organizations who know their communities, who know the best way to address youth employment, and they're able to contract expertise in this sector. The technical support that we provide is primarily organizational. So we help them build some of their organizational structures, some of their financial
procedures.
procedures.
Which means what? You have 100 experts? Or
No, not at all.
What do you do? How do you get them? Yeah.
I'm actually the only expat, but we work with a national implementing partner that's Kenyan, and they provide most of the on-the-ground support. They know the context. They've worked with a lot of organizations across Kenya, and so they really have the expertise and the experience to guide these organizations.
So through the Study Foundation, which is the local partner, we're able to have, so even as we started off the training, after they looked at our project design, the ones who were able to sit with us and also look at the realities of costings, things that are relevant to each environment that each organization is working on. But then they also do consistent follow-up with us. We have to do monthly reports, and they're able to get the feedback. They also come on the ground and do monitoring and evaluation. They want to, like in my case, they want to be able to go and see this girl in the local business and to hear from her exactly what impact this is having on her, even before we get to the end of reporting. So there's consistent follow-up.
So Anne-Marie, does that mean that for me to get funding from the Y Youth to Youth Foundation, I need to have been in existence for a while, or could I just wake up tomorrow and say, I identify a need in my society and I want to do ABC, can I approach you?
So you have to be a registered nonprofit organization and show that you have some capacity in place.
Okay.
And when we select organizations, we really look at the idea, how well they've articulated the challenges in their communities, how well they've articulated their understanding of their community and their idea and how they want to address it. So that's what we primarily look at. We've worked with some newer organizations, some that have been in existence for only 6 months to a year, and it really depends on the idea.
Depends on what you've put down on paper. So I can bring you a concept and you can look at it and say this is worth our time and you know, our money, and so we can go in on them. Okay, all right.
Now working in Mathare, when all you do
Korogocho.
is Korogocho.
Yeah.
All you do is music. Isn't that very limiting? There are many things that you young people in Korogocho or Mathare or slums can do.
Yes.
You just limit yourself to music.
Okay.
Performing arts.
Yeah.
Why not carpentry or IT or computers and repairing mobile phones?
Yeah, that's a valid question. What I would say to that, again, my background is a professional in the music industry. So together with my organization, I am able to create the impact that's needed. I can't do carpentry if I don't have background in it, just because I do youth project. So I hope that answers that.
To me, that's limiting.
Why do you feel it's limited? Because let me give you an example.
Are there people doing other things?
Of course, they are. And what we do as Wezo Awareness, we're also looking for synergies, you know. If there's something, if I meet a youth that came and wanted to do music, and they're also a border driver and they need help with that, we work, for an example, with Kiva, who gives micro loans to people, so we will connect them with them. You know, we'll create other synergies in the areas where we don't have enough expertise or it's not our area.
Do you see both your organizations moving out of your respective counties? Because quite a number of people have sent in SMSs asking, okay, fantastic initiatives you have there, but I'd like to see it in my county. So do we see it growing?
Okay, I would like to answer that. And before I answer, I just want to comment. You know, I feel these models are very strong and they are real, yes, and they bring real impact. And the Kenyan government should actually be a part of this and take this up. Apart from working with ILO, I also work with the Swedish Foreign Ministry and CSUDP. And what we are doing there is that we're going to implement this model that I'm doing with the Wezo in 5 counties now, starting from next year. So they are taking the first step. But again, if the government is watching and you need an example of what to do with youth in the performing arts and e-learning, I'm your expert. I'm ready to work with you. And
okay.
And I'll just take off with what Wawero is saying, is that we have the capacity and right now to work in the counties that we're in, which is Kilifi and Kwale. Even for us, we only moved to Kwale in 2013 because it's also a capacity issue. So in order to be able to expand and expand in a realistic way, not just saying we have offices for moving the goalposts in all these places, but that we have proper programs that are running, it's a capacity question. So I think in terms of especially looking at youth empowerment, is just to look at what are the funds that are available, and also do those funds speak to organizations such as ourselves. So that if we're talking about the fact that there's money that government has set aside for youth, that's fine, and we really appreciate it and we laud that. But how can they be able to work with organizations such as ourselves, who are the ones who are bridging the gap between this youth who's been sitting at home not doing anything? We take them through a goal setting process. We work with them and we build their capacity to the point that they're now ready to enter the market. But we don't get support at that point. So how can government be able to work with organizations such as ourselves? Central government, because central government also is the one that has many of those funds, but also the county governments. So that how can they be able to work with organizations such as ourselves to support us, because we're the ones who are working with the youth at that level. Then once the youth have gone through that stage, then they'll be able to, okay, fill in the forms, have all the necessary documentation in order to apply for the direct grants that they receive as individuals.
Okay, there's someone here who says, good morning, Power Breakfast. I know Moving the Goals is doing a lot for the girl child, starting with my sister's daughter. Her name is Ubeyo Akida. Now she's playing international teams. Emmanuel Maitha in Kilifi. So yes, it is working in Kilifi County. And let me pose a question to both of you, because you're working with young people in different counties. It is said that young people, yes, have the ideas, but are not willing to put in effort into that idea that they have? What's your take on that? You know, because look at it, the Wezo Fund, which is not, you know, in any way related to yours, or the Youth Development Fund, a lot of money is in there, but it is said young guys are not coming out to go look for the money. You know, what's your take on that?
My take on this is, I wouldn't say that the youth are not interested in doing the work. There are quite a number of youth who are passionate. It's not, we can't speak to 100%, but there's a solid number of youth who are really passionate and want to be able to achieve their goals. I would say, especially with regards to the Uwezo Fund, is that much as a lot of media work has been done, forums such as this and forums like newspaper adverts have been done to publicize it. Where I work, many of the youth who need it the most don't have access to a television, don't have access to a newspaper, and so are not getting this information. When they come to our forums, for them, it's the first time that they've ever had that the Kenya government has set aside money for them. And also looking at, okay, so how do I go through the process of applying for this fund? I must be able to at least access a local center where I'll be able to pick up those forms. Talking about you can go online and download, okay, that's useful for only a very slim part of the population. If you're in rural Bamba, you are in a place where it takes you an hour to get to the local center, ideas of downloading that will not reach you. So looking at how can we be able to make sure that it gets to the mashinani, and that we also make it really much easier for people there to apply. We're dealing with areas where the basics of having a national identity card are still a challenge. Being able to access their national identity cards are still a challenge. And so looking at how do we bridge that gap? How do we ensure that they're able to, first of all, even get that ID, so that even they can be able to then take the next step of filling the form, or even gathering into the groups that they need to gather if they're applying for some of those grants.
Mm-hmm. Don't you work in collaboration with the local administration, the chiefs and...
Yes, we do.
And then why should there be an issue of IDs?
An issue of IDs is that it works both ways. The local administration may be ready and willing, but a lot of the population has, if you've lived in a very rural place where your mother has never found the need to maybe even go out and get an ID, and for you, you're the one who is the first, the first generation that's actually going out to get an ID, it's not going to be easy. So it's also bridging that gap of understanding.
There's no one in Kenya where grown-ups don't have IDs.
There is. There is, because we work with beneficiaries who will tell you, I want to get my birth certificate, but my parents don't have IDs. They are not registered. So where do I start?
There's a requirement by law to register children.
Yes. But then as long as the law is not enforced, or as long as government doesn't have the reach, because some of these places are also quite rural, as long as government has not reached, or it has not trickled down to that level where every single adult has an ID, then it will continue until we continue to bridge that gap, until it's actually bridged and met. So just looking at what are the challenges that the youth are getting even in trying to access these funds. And I think that's one of the areas where a lot of work is being done, but remember, it's being done now. That has been a drive in the recent past. It's not something that worked it didn't work equally from when Kenya got independence and we all started registering. Mm-hmm. It has gone ahead in certain areas, but there are certain areas that have been left behind. Mm-hmm. So how can we ensure that the youth who are in those areas that have not had 100% registration are actually going to be able to achieve that 100% registration? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, someone has an interesting question here, says, ask Wawero what drives him. Is it money or talent harnessing? And maybe, Rachel, you could answer after him. What drives you?
I feel that I used to live abroad for a very long time, and I came back in 2008. And I've always done music, and I thank God that that's how I've made my living for the longest. And when I came back, one of the things I really wanted to give back in some way, and being that when I deal professionally, I hope other people would get that type of training, but also create the environment for it, you see. Because me, I can't run a commercial business, and then all I'm doing is training people, right? So I really feel I love my country, and I know there's so much talent and there's so much opportunities even on both sides, from the talent side and the private sector and all the opportunities. So I want to bridge the gap, and that's what drives me the most. Yeah. Okay. I devote more time to Uwezo awareness, right, than what I do professionally as a music producer.
Okay. What about you, Rachel?
I'd say certainly, my background is women and women's rights. And so for me, any opportunity to be able to give a woman the support that she needs to be able to go to the next step, to go to the next level, to put food on the table, to make decisions that strengthen her future and just her options. That's what drives me.
You have heard that there is a gap between the youth and the money the government is giving. Is ILO doing anything to prepare the youth to take the money, or you're just ending up here?
So this is one of our initiatives from the Youth Entrepreneurship Facility, but we also have several other initiatives. One is a packaged entrepreneurship training called the Start and Improve Your Own Business. It's a 3 to 5 day.
Where does that operate?
Pardon?
Where does that operate?
Across Kenya. So we've trained trainers. They're called TOTs, training of trainers.
Yes.
So they're able to provide entrepreneurship classes for people across Kenya. So these Kenyans are based across the country, and they're able to provide these really tangible skill classes where they explore issues of marketing, of productivity, of keeping financial records. So they're able to create and implement a business plan.
Then why is it that the government is saying, here is the money for the women and for the youth, but there are no takers?
I can't speak for the government, but
You can talk about why are the youth, since you have that program, why are they not using the facility, the training to get the money?
I can't speak for youth themselves, but I know that with the organizations that we work with, one of the key things that we look at is strategic partnerships. And so a lot of our organizations partner with government, with other private sector or public sector organizations, and work with them to access funds like the Owezo Fund or the Youth Fund. So we're trying to build their capacity to access those funds.
What's your time frame when it comes to funding? Are you going to do this for the rest of your lives, or are you going to be here for the next 2 years and then you're off? What's your time frame?
So the Youth Entrepreneurship Facility will come to a close quite soon, but we're working closely with the public and private sector so that these initiatives are taken up in the public and private sector. Things like the Start and Improve Your Own Business trainings, things like the Youth to Youth Fund model. These are packages, these are interventions that have been very well researched, very well developed, and we'd love for especially county governments to take these initiatives up.
Why would you close shop? Why is it coming to an end soon?
Well, our funding from Danita is coming to an end.
Okay.
But ideally, we want to leave initiatives with the public sector. We don't want to continually be implementing the same project from outside. We want the public sector to take this up.
Okay, all right.
And I think, Kirego, I have to comment on that one. To say this is a really great opportunity for us. You know, we keep talking about being able to use our own resources to be able to achieve our ends as a country. And I think that this is a great opportunity. This is something that's been tried and tested. It's been seen to work. And so to have some type of support from the government to be able to look and say, okay, so this is a new model. Yes, we are interested in youth. This is the model we've been using. This is something that we can build on to the work that we are doing with the youth. I think that would be a great opportunity.
All right, and any big plans as we're coming to an end for the new year? You know, again, quite a number of people asking. I think they've missed that part. Are we going to see you move to other parts of the country, or are you just going to stay in Kilifi and Kwale and you in Korogosho? You know,
I think, well, we're at that place as an organization where we've grown enough to have that question, to think, you know, within ourselves and to say, do we have the capacity? And so we are considering it. It's something that is on the table, and then once we're able to look at it and be able to determine that we have the sufficient resources to do that, yes, we'd be happy to be able to. But one other thing that we do is that we've publicized our model. So the way the football program works, we've actually put it down in a manual, and we share this widely. We give it to organizations. So anyone who is passionate and willing and thinks that this is something that can help girls in their community, we are happy to share that information. So we are really open to organizations or even individuals who feel that this is something that they want to take on, to be able to come, learn from us, how did we do it, how have we dealt with the challenges that we've faced, and be able to take it and implement it in their county, in their local area, and we are happy to support that.
Okay.
Who pays your salaries? Who pays you?
As Uwezo Awareness Organization, I'm supported by 2 donors right now, which is ILO and the Swedish Foreign Ministry through CSUDP.
So you get 2 salaries?
Huh?
You get 2 salaries?
They support, actually. They just add onto it.
And you?
So for us, we're an organization. We have a staff of 27 actually.
Yes, yes.
And so we're an organization that depends on fundraising. And so we raise funds both locally and internationally. So we have organizations in Kenya such as the Safaricom Foundation and others who are in partnership with some businesses that are in partnership that give us grant funding to enable us to implement our programs. But we also raise funds internationally. So we respond to calls for proposals and we continue to build our budget to be able to run that stuff and to run the programs.
Can I answer also your question? So for 2015, we're going to be rolling out in Kisumu, in Nyeri, in Embu, Kakamega, and Mombasa.
Okay.
Yeah.
The whole of 2015.
Yeah. And if I may say, if you want some more info, it's wezo.org.
Okay. All right. And Rachel, you know, as we come to an end, something has been bugging me at the back of my mind. You're doing a fantastic program back in Kwale, empowering the girls. But then, does that mean you've left the boy child? Is there someone else who's taking care of the boy child? Are you empowering the girl child to take over from the boy child? What's your take on that?
Well, I think it's a question that arises anytime we discuss gender. And Kenya has reached a point where we are looking at the investment that we've put in women and girls over a period of time, and we're looking at, have we forgotten our boys? And for me, I look at it as we as an organization have the capacity and the skills to work on a girls program. There are other organizations that have the capacity and are doing boys programs. But I think we also have to step back and look at the environment that we work in. If you're in an environment where girls have a distinct disadvantage that is statistically evident, then you probably want to start with a weaker party and then be able, and then be able to bring them up to a par with the other party that has advantages at the start, and then be able to work with them together. So I think that's the environment that ourselves and many other organizations that work with women find themselves. But then talking about issues like sexual and reproductive health, we can't ignore the role that boys will have on the future that these girls that we're working with are in. So we are trying to look at innovative ways where we're not going to start a boys program, but like the training that we do, we also bring on board boys coaches, and this is something that we are learning as we go along. We bring coaches of boys teams, and we give them the same reproductive health information that we are giving the girls, and we say, please disseminate these to the boys teams that you work with, so that when they go out into the environment, they're all mixed.
Yes.
And so that they will both have the same information, and they'll be able to interact at a place where both of them have the same information and the same empowerment.
Okay. Anne-Marie, for those who are watching and, you know, are organizations that are seeking to harness talent and, you know, promote entrepreneurship, where can they reach you? Where can they find you if they need funding?
For sure. So they can find more information through our implementing partner, Ustadi Foundation.
Okay.
Ustadi.org.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's where they'll be able to
All right. Access more information.
Any final comments as we come to the end?
I think just to say that we really need to continue investing in the youth. We have to keep trying. We have certain methods that we're using, but we have to keep looking at how are we going to be able to have a wide enough basket that will be really able to reach as many of them and to give as many of them opportunities, both as organizations, as international partners, and as Kenyans generally.
Okay.
Yeah.
And me, thank you for this time here, and to my dear government. My name is Wawero. I have stood up, and my areas are youth, empowerment, performing arts, and e-learning. Okay. Let's talk.
Okay.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for having us today.
All right.
It's such a pleasure to work with organizations such as Uwezo and Moving the Goalposts, and also very much looking forward to working with the public sector as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. You're watching the Power Breakfast Show. Don't go too far.